I was literally dying because I kept getting sick whenever I would be around him.
With over millions of followers across platforms and a growing self-love podcast called Date Yourself Instead, social media personality Lyss has become an advice guru for many people.
Like my body was literally just shutting down. And if I look at old pictures of myself in that relationship, I look terrible. Like I look like I'm sick. I was going to move to London. I was dating someone there. It just felt really aligned.
Now, did you take that leap of faith based off feelings that you have for this person?
We weren't in a relationship. It was just I liked him. And if he's watching, he's going to think I'm a psycho because he's like, what the hell? You weren't even dating. Was she moving to London for me? Planes are portals and they like take you to a different timeline. And I feel like I have different identities in different places.
You have these different characters. In a way, do you feel like you're lying to yourself, kind of? What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Boy Art Show. I am him, and today I'm joined by a very special person, Lyss. Lyss Boss. How do you pronounce your last name?
Lyss Boss.
Lyss
well,
Boss.
Okay, so it's Boss. My real last name is Bossio, which not a lot of people actually know. But Boss is tattooed on my arm, and everyone in my high school called me Lyss Boss.
Why?
So it just stuck. I guess because the word boss is like boss, like boss bitch. Can I can I curse
yes,
on the podcast?
You can definitely curse.
Okay,
yes.
so it's always been a nickname, and my dad, his company is like Boss, and my brothers, same thing. They had the same nickname, and then it kind of just stuck for me too, Lyss Boss, because it's like four letters. It just sounds cool as a brand, and then I branded myself as Lyss Boss. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's smart.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yeah.
Like you said, it comes out effortlessly, and it's not too much thinking required. You know, I think people can easily pronounce your name and it just flows. So it's very smart. But thank you for joining me. I know you have no idea what you're in for, but I'm glad that you took a chance and wanted to be interviewed and wanted to talk about your story. So thank you for coming. I like to get right into, well, first off, I do like to get right into it, but how are you?
I'm great.
Yes.
I'm happy to be home. I was traveling for the last 3 months, so now I'm grounded back in the city and just getting back into routine. So everything's really good. I'm excited to just like work and get back into my workouts and feel healthy. I feel like when I'm traveling, I'm definitely scattered and all over the place. So it's good to be home.
Is that a common thing you do? Travel 3 months out the year or more than that?
No, I was only supposed to be, well, I do travel a lot, but I was only supposed to be away for 2 weeks and it turned into 3 months. So it's been, it wasn't planned at all. It just kind of happened that way. I had a lot of things which we could get into during the episode happen during the time frame that I was away. I was in Australia and Bali, and I had some crazy relationship drama happen. So I just decided to stay there because I didn't want to be back in New York. And so that's why I was gone for that long. But
yeah, you know what's so interesting, and I guess we can start here, but something that I learned about you is you initially were going to move to Europe, but then you moved back to New York because of some unforeseen circumstances.
Yes.
Can you elaborate more on what happened during that time?
Yeah, so I was going to move to London, and I love London so much. I go there often, and I did live there for a brief period of time, but only for a few months. And last year, I was like thinking about actually getting a place there, and I had met a group of friends there. I was dating someone there. It just felt really aligned. And I was like, this would be really fun. It would be a very good opportunity now to do it because I have nothing really going on in New York. And then a few things happen. And I believe in signs and divine timing. I literally just got this tattoo, divine timing, because sometimes life will just throw you curveballs and like show you that maybe it's not the best ideal time to do something when you're about to do it. It's happened to me so many times. So when I was there and trying to find an apartment, it was becoming a struggle to find a place. And then the person that I was kind of seeing was being weird, and I just felt like that was coming to an end. And then my grandma got sick. So there was like a domino effect of things that just made it feel like it wasn't the right time. So I ended up flying back to New York, and I stayed with my grandma. I saw my family, and then I found an apartment immediately, and it just felt so easy. And I was like, okay, I made the right call not going through with that decision.
Now, did you take that leap of faith based off feelings that you have for this person, or were you just doing that because this is what you wanted to do?
You're saying, was I thinking about moving to London for someone?
For someone, or were you just moving because that was a dream of yours?
Well, we weren't in a relationship. It was just I liked him, and if he's watching, he's gonna think I'm a psycho because he's like, "What the hell? You weren't even dating. Was she moving to London for me?" It wasn't like that. It was just like there were so many good parts to London that I loved, and
he was one of those good parts.
He was one of those good parts also because I just thought he was cool, and we were hanging out a lot. So I was like, this could be really fun, and it definitely crossed my mind. That wasn't the ultimate deciding factor, obviously, because I wouldn't just move for someone that I didn't know that well. Mm-hmm. I think I would only move for someone if I was in a serious relationship and it was deep in. And I knew that it was worth it because I love New York, and I love my friends, and I love my routine here. So that would be a huge decision just for a significant other. Or well, I guess he wasn't a significant other, but it would be a big decision for, I don't know if you want to call it a situationship, but
I think that's what made me want to ask the question, because I'm like, when you were describing the story, I'm like, is she moving because of the guy? But now it makes sense. He just happened to be there, basically.
Well, I went to London solo. I didn't know him.
Yes.
I went to London for myself.
Okay, let's stop here for a second. See, moving to a different country because you think you are in love with someone you have been dating for a few weeks can be a vulnerable learning experience. It challenges you to adapt to new culture, language, and environment, which can broaden your perspective and enhance your personal growth. This bold step can teach you about resilience, independence, and the importance of following your heart. Even if the relationship doesn't last, the experience of navigating a new country and overcoming obstacles can provide lessons and memories that'll last a lifetime. All right, let's get back to the show.
I never travel solely for anyone. It's really for me, but if I happen to meet someone during that time frame, which has happened to me a few times while I've been traveling, it just makes the experience so much more fun, and it adds to the experience. Yeah. I just happened to meet him and really like him. But then that fizzled out.
When did you realize this was a passion of yours, traveling?
So my first solo trip was when I was 19. I went to Australia and I just decided to go, like, randomly. It was study abroad, but it was also no one from my school was going there. Everyone was going to Florence and like random parts of Europe. And I was like, I'm just going to do something different. And I ended up really doing this really independent solo trip. And I think I knew then that that's what excited me. But I also had a huge fear of flying. And I remember, like, even after that trip, I was terrified to fly. So I took a really big break in between that. And I think it was when I graduated college and I met one of my ex-boyfriends. He kind of brought me back into the travel idea and was like, let's go here, let's go there. And he loved to travel. So he kind of got me back into it. And then I caught the addiction. And I was like, I can't stop. And also because I think whenever I go to a new place, I actually just recorded an episode on this today, which is really funny, but I feel like planes are portals and they like take you to a different timeline. And I feel like I have different identities in different places. So like in London, I'm super social and I'm more of like an alcoholic. Like I drink a lot, I go out, but it also doesn't affect me the way it does here, which is so interesting. It's probably just a mental thing because I'm on vacation. But here I'm like in a routine, I'm more structured, I'm working, I'm focused. And then, yeah, London, I'm more social, I go out more. When I was in Bali, I was doing all these healing things. I feel like you just activate different parts of your personality based on where you are. I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but.
I can't really, I mean, that's a good question. I can't really speak to that because I don't travel. At all, actually.
Really?
I think I only go back home. I'm from Minnesota, so I only go back home. But that's my peace. Like I like going back home. Like I always say, New York is work for me. So when I go back home, I get to be grounded and I get that peace. But I want to go back real quick because you said something that I'm curious about. You know, you said when you go to these different places, in a way, do you feel like you're lying to yourself, kind of? Like, what do you like? Because when I think about that, I think, are you escaping something? Like when you go to these places and you can have these new identities and these new characters, like, is that what's going on? Like, break that down for me.
Maybe there are things here that I don't want to deal with. And I think that's valid. I think, you know, travel is my form of escape. I think everyone has their form of escape. I genuinely do love to just experience new places and meet new people. Like that's a huge element to it. And I think when I travel and it puts me in a different environment, it gives me a different perspective on things that I go through. So yeah, technically it could be an escape, but I think it is therapeutic for me in a way. And I think it does help my mental health. So instead of spending thousands of dollars on a therapist, which I have done before, I found traveling more effective for me, because I think a huge part of rewiring your brain to heal from things or to get over things is to create a new reality for yourself. And I talk a lot about this on my podcast, where it's like you have to rewire your thoughts, and sometimes being in a new environment for me helps me do that and helps me get a fresh perspective on what I'm going through. So that's kind of why I love it so much. And also, even just being away now, like I went to Sydney for a couple of months, I met so many new friends and connections that I'll have now forever. So I think there's just a purpose and meaning in everything. And I feel like it only applies, though, if you're called to do it. Like if you're called to go somewhere specific. For me, I knew that I wanted to go to this specific place at this specific time, but I wouldn't just force a trip to force it, you know? So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was something I was going to ask. Like, are you flying to these places because one, you might be dealing with something and you're like, okay, let me go here because I'm hurt right now. Or that's not, you know how people shop because there's a word for it that I can't think of right now on the spot. But when you, I do it, I eat when I'm feeling some type of way. I don't know the technical word for it, but the vice.
It's like a vice, like when you're going through something
and you use other things to try to mask it. So to me, that's what it sounds like. It's like, oh, I'm traveling, but I could be wrong. You right here, so you can tell me if I'm wrong. Like I'm traveling to mask whatever I'm dealing with here, whether that be family issues or personal issues, relationship issues, or friends, like whatever is going through. Excuse me. Am I assessing that wrong, or what do you think?
I think everyone's different. Like I think who I am might be different than why someone else would travel and try to escape things. Like for me, I go when I feel called to go somewhere. I know it's a privilege, right? I know that it's a privilege to travel, but I even made it work when I was broke. Like when I first started traveling when I was 19, I had no money and I just made it work. I like sold some of my stuff and I was like, I need to go. So I just always wanted to. I don't think it's necessarily I don't want to say it's a vice or something where it's like bad to do, because I think there's been beauty in every trip that I've taken where I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. I spend my money on experience. People spend their money on clothes, shoes, food, whatever. Most of my money goes to experience. And that's, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I think I have used it as a form of therapy too, or I'm like, I need to get out of here because I need to, like when I was going through my last relationship and it was really toxic, there were moments where I was like, I need to go book a trip because I need to get away from him. I need to get out of this bubble that I'm in with him because it's so unhealthy. And I've done that a couple of times. So
Let's stop here. I love what Lyss is saying about having different identities in different countries. See, traveling to different countries and forming different identities can feel like a kind of freedom from your hometown. It allows you to explore new cultures, reinvent yourself, and leave behind the expectations and judgments of those who you know. This can be liberating and offer a fresh start. However, constantly creating new identities can also be a way of running away from your decisions and avoiding facing your true self. By pretending to be somebody in different place, you might be lying to yourself and not addressing the real issues you carry. This constant reinvention can prevent you from finding genuine self-acceptance and stability. All right, let's get back to the show.
I read that you said your ex made you you were so stressed and you were physically sick because of that relationship.
Yeah.
Can you expound on that?
I was literally dying. Like, I thought I had something severely physically wrong with me because I kept getting sick whenever I would be around him. So anytime he would come to visit me, even when we weren't officially together anymore, like if I ever saw him, I started getting fevers, chills, body sweats, heart pain. And I would literally it felt like I had the flu. And it happened 3 times. So I was like, is he giving me something? Like, is he sick all the time? Like, I didn't know what was going on. And I literally brought it up to him and he's like, yeah, like, you're allergic to me. Like, your body is literally rejecting me. And he said it as a joke, but I was like, no, it's not a joke. Like, it actually, my body is so sensitive to your energy because something's not right. And he knew about the article that came out too. I showed him the article. I was like, look at this. Like, I don't have a PR team or anything. I literally just woke up and someone had written that article. So that was really crazy. And I think it was also a sign for me to like really check myself because I was still with him at the time. And I was still hanging out with him at the time, I guess. And I was like, wait, like maybe I should really take this seriously because it's not healthy. My body is having this reaction to him. And then the second he would leave, I would feel fine. Mm-hmm. Like I would literally feel like totally back to normal. So I knew that something was up. And throughout that relationship too, I would get excruciating heart pain where I thought I was having a heart attack. And I would call my dad being like, I think there's something wrong with my heart. And he was like, no, you're just in the wrong relationship.
Wow.
Like you are experiencing panic attacks because your body knows that you're in a toxic situation. And I was in denial for a while because I was like, how is it possible that your body can go crazy like that? But then I posted about it on TikTok and it went viral. It got like millions of views and so many comments of the same experiences from women that have gone through that with different people that they've been with. So I was like, oh, this is really a thing.
Yeah.
Let's slow down here for a second. I really want to discuss this more. What I've learned from this conversation so far, or what I'm learning so far, is that it is very possible to physically and emotionally reject your romantic partner, which can indicate deeper issues in your relationship. Let's break it down more. To physically reject someone might look like avoiding touch, not wanting to be close, or even turning away from intimacy. And to emotionally reject someone looks like withdrawing from conversations, showing a lack of interest in your partner's feelings, or being unresponsive to their needs. This rejection can suggest that there are unsolved conflicts, a loss of connection, or a lack of compatibility. It might also indicate that one or two partners are unhappy and not fully committed to the relationship, highlighting the need for honest communication and possibly professional help to address the underlying problems. All right, let's get back to the show.
Let's take a trip down memory lane. How long were y'all together, I guess, during the duration of that? And just in general, how long were y'all together for?
We were together on and off for, I would say, 3.5 years. I think it was, 3.5 years. Mm. So it was a pretty long period of time. I was dating people. The last year we were still sort of in contact. I was dating other people and seeing other people, and I wasn't really committed to him and he wasn't committed to me. but he was still in my life. And I think even that energetic tie is still having someone there. Like, it still counts as something. Mm-hmm. So he's not in my vortex anymore at all. But yeah, it was a long time for sure.
So 3 years.
Yeah.
And within that 3 years, when do you think you started noticing that change happening?
I think there were moments where my body felt very strange. I would say 2 years in, things started getting a little weird. Like, I would get heart pain, chest pain. He would go out and I would get really bad anxiety about it. Like, I just never really felt it was right. And then, yeah, it kind of got worse and worse and worse. Yeah. And in the beginning, though, we were very much, I think we were in love, but I don't know from his angle.
You know, I was so curious what that looked like when I was reading the article, like as far as like what it looked like for your body to physically reject a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, are you gaining weight? Like, are you losing weight? Obviously you described the pain that you were having. Like, what does that look like physically on your body for you to like reject? Are you, when the person touch you, you get icky feeling, itchy? like how, if you could describe that more, like how would you describe it?
I feel like it could be, I mean, for me personally, it was just the heart pain, and I would say I fluctuated in weight. I mean, there's so many things. Like, I think I was always anxious. I had a lot of anxiety. I was having nightmares a lot, which stands out to me now because I was having nightmares about the relationship, just like not sleeping well. And my body, I think, was just in constant fight or flight mode. And if I look at old pictures of myself in that relationship, I look terrible. Like, I look like I'm sick in a lot of photos. And I'm looking at myself now and I'm like, oh my God, I think I was like, my body was literally just shutting down. So you'll know, I think, especially women are very intuitive, and we know when our body is out of sync and like just energetically off. So yeah.
Do you feel like it was one-sided? Like you were given and he wasn't given as well? It was just you pouring into the relationship? Or do you feel like it was balanced?
I think he did as much as he could do for who he was. Like, I think he gave a lot and showed up as this ideal partner for me and like made me feel loved and valued. And I think hopefully he was in love with me the same way that I felt, but it didn't feel one-sided while I was in it, for sure. Like, I wasn't like chasing him down to give me love or anything. He was a very affectionate person. He showed up for me and would do things for me that if I needed a favor or anything, he was there. He was a supportive partner. At that time, I could say I felt loved and appreciated, and that's what I try to focus on. Like, I'm like, no matter what I know now, I feel like he was a good partner at the time. So that's what I'm going to focus on.
When did you finally shut things down and just distance yourself from that relationship?
Officially, like, knew that this was like done. It was this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to say dates because a lot of people in my life, they know what's going on.
Yeah.
But no one understands someone's life until they know that person personally and they know the details. And no one, even my podcast listeners or anyone that's watching my content, they have no idea. I don't really post my dating publicly, like my actual personal individual people that I'm seeing. I don't post that because I don't think it's necessary unless I'm like engaged and I know this person's going to be my husband. Mm-hmm. I don't feel the need to like showcase every detail of my relationship. I think the next person I'm with, I will. But yeah, no one really knows what goes on. And if people did know, which maybe I'll share it eventually, they'd be like, this makes so much sense. Like that's crazy that happened to you. But I considered him my best friend, right? On top of, aside from dating, like I was like, when you have a connection with someone where you're just not just a romantic partner, but that person's your best friend and you have built a lot of memories, it's like, it's hard to completely cut ties, even if you're dating other people. We were both seeing other people, but it got to the point where I realized that if I don't fully slam the door and just not even say hello, I'm never going to fully be able to step into my power and like really move on and give someone else a proper chance because my heart was not fully open. And I think you have to have a clean slate. If you want to actually meet your person, you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Yeah. And that was where my energy was always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And it's just not healthy. And I think I convinced myself it was fine, but it's not leaving room for the universe to make space for new relationships to come in that are healthy.
At all. Yeah. And finally, what's your current status with you and him? What's your current relationship status with you and him? Like, do y'all talk? Do
no.
y'all not?
No,
Is
no,
he
no,
completely out the picture?
Out of the picture forever.
Okay.
Like zero contact communication. I honestly like wish him the best and that's it. And like, I've made peace with it and I've like completely cut ties because I knew for myself, I got to the point where I was like, I need to really just have a clean slate, and you could wish someone well and have peace with the situation and just not have any contact with them. So I think that was the best decision for both of us. And that's it. Like, I'm very much single and focusing on myself and healing and just like, yeah, I think that's the way you have to do it. If you really want to get to the next level of your life, and I always talk about this like concept of cutting people out completely, because if you're energetically tied to someone, it could be anyone really that's holding you back in any sort of way, it really can block new blessings from coming into your life. And I'm at a place now where my life is just, it's so good right now.
But I think that's so difficult to hold a mirror, in front of your face and be able to reveal that to yourself. Yeah. I think because we don't want to do that, right? Because sometimes we lie to ourselves and think there's nothing else out there or nothing else like what we had when it was perfect with that person out there. And the thought of trying to find that, it's like, man, that's going to be difficult to find something that was that perfect. So you're like, maybe I can fix this thing to get it back to what it was, for sure, versus going out there and looking and stressing and trying to find something new. So I think it's difficult. It's difficult. So how were you able to do that as far as like really, really putting that mirror in front of your face and stepping away? Because I think, like I just said, I think that's difficult to do. And a lot of people out there probably listening, going through that same thing. And maybe you have spoken about this publicly, but how were you able to do that?
I think it just got to a breaking point where I was like, nothing is changing. And I have to be real with myself and honest with my higher self that's telling me this isn't right. I think you always have that voice within you saying, this isn't right, this isn't working. Like, you gotta cut it. And I had that voice for like years. And I just talked about this on my last episode about how I couldn't visualize my wedding day with him. Like, there were so many red flags where I was like, what am I really doing? Like, how is this benefiting me anymore? Because if I'm not happy with this person clinging on to my energy, what is it really doing for me? Is it really serving a purpose? And I think when I started asking myself those questions a lot and then just starting to get honest with myself, I started just to get sick of what I was doing. Like, sometimes you just have to hit a wall where you're like, I just can't fucking do this anymore. And I think that's what happened to me, where I was like, I cannot be fully happy and allow myself to be fully happy if I'm holding on to this anymore. And sometimes you just have to, it's a timing thing.
Yeah.
It's literally a timing thing. And also just, it's a growth thing where you're like, I have to get hit in the head 30 times to walk away the 31st time. Yeah. Like sometimes, you know, it's easier said than done to walk away from someone you love, because obviously like that person was someone I was deeply in love with. Mm-hmm. But your peace is a huge, huge factor in your happiness. And I was just reading this book the other day about how your inner peace shows you how in alignment you really are, and how, you know, if something is right for you and if it's not, and just paying attention to that. And if you're constantly anxious, if you're constantly crying, if you're constantly stressed out and thinking about this relationship, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I think it's time to exit.
Yeah. And sometimes you need to go through years of torture. Like I was going through years of torture.
Really?
Yes, like it was bad.
No, I mean,
it was bad.
You saying that sometimes you need to go through that torture. I think that's interesting. It's similar to I was watching a YouTube video. I can't remember the lady's name, but she was talking about how failure. Like she was like, you have to fail. Like you cannot grow or succeed unless you fail, because that's how you learn. Like you can't learn from winning all the time. So to hear you say that, I think I'm relating torture to kind of failure. And maybe you have, to your point, you kind of have to learn from that pain and torture that you're going through in order for you to realize that I need to evolve past this.
Yeah.
Maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I think sometimes it really is a timing thing where like you could try to end things, but you're only going to end them when you're ready and the timing is aligned. Like you could tell your friends too, you know, that person's bad for you, you shouldn't be with them, but they're not going to listen unless they're ready to end it. Like people told me, you know, my dad was like, break up with this person. Like you're not, I see my daughter like miserable and it kills me. And I was like, Dad, shut up. Like, I was like, Dad, you don't know what I'm like, you don't understand. And looking back, I'm like, wow, like he saw beyond what I saw because I was so blinded. And sometimes when those blinders come off, then you make the call. And I think that's what happened when I was just, there was a moment where I was like, not blinded anymore. I woke up and I was like, I actually asked God. I mean, I'm not religious, but I asked the universe, God, higher power. I asked for clear guidance. And then the next day I woke up and had a decision made and I was like, I'm done. So I think if you're struggling in any capacity, just like praying or speak to the universe or whatever power you really believe in, because you'll be guided. And I think I was guided for sure. So,
and something interesting that I learned about you, that I personally like, because it's something that I relate to, is that, you know, throughout your journey, you learn to embrace solitude. Like you, I think there's this stigma on solitude, in my opinion, but I think people confuse it with loneliness.
Yeah.
What's the distinction between the two, if you can describe it? Well,
I think loneliness is just a depressing term. Like to be lonely is like a low, I don't want to say low vibe term, but it's like you're basically saying it you're saying you're alone in a negative way, you know? And I think being alone can be a really beautiful thing. I think spending time with yourself, you have the opportunity to learn a lot about what you want and what you don't want in relationships, and also just for yourself in general, just to like know who you are and create a really solid identity for yourself and be secure. And I love it because now I know for next time, because I think when I've entered relationships in the past, I never had a true sense of identity. I was always kind of shaping myself to make someone else happy. And now the next person I know I end up with, it's going to be the real thing because I'm like so sure of myself. Like I know exactly who I am now. I know what I want. I know my standards. And you learn those things from taking time for yourself. So when anyone asks me like, oh, like, aren't you lonely, being by yourself? And I'm like, I just use it as a window of opportunity to work on myself. So when that person does come into my life, I'm not throwing all my shit and baggage onto them.
Yeah.
And I'm also aligning myself with someone that gets this healed version of me. And hopefully that person will appreciate me and like love me properly. Because I think when you're coming from a place of not being healed, you can attract people that take advantage of you and like don't treat you right. So I'm really big on the law of attraction and all that stuff. So I think for me now I'm like, okay, I've worked on myself a lot. I'm more confident. I'm more sure of my standards and my boundaries. And the next person that comes into my life, I trust that they're going to be right because I'm not going to settle and I'm not going to ignore those red flags that I did in the past. Mm-hmm. So I think being alone could be a good thing.
I agree. I love being by myself. Yeah. I agree. I because you get to know so much about yourself. Not only that, but like you get to. I think you get to learn what it is you don't like around you. So like, it's certain people that I read right away just because I know so much about me, and when they come bring their energy in my mix, I'm like, yeah, that's just rubbing off me the wrong way. And I know to distance myself. But I think that all comes from just me being in touch with myself so much and not being afraid. I don't know if it was you. I believe you said it before, but it was just like when everything is gone, are you okay with just being just by yourself? Like, are you okay with that? No, there's nothing. Like, are you okay with just being by yourself? I think some people can't stand that because we lie to ourselves all the time. So to have to live in that lie, I think scares a lot of people. Yeah,
it definitely does. I think it can be intimidating to sit with your own thoughts.
Yeah. So how were you able to, I guess, create that relationship with yourself?
Honestly, a lot of it comes down to focusing on the things I love and my passions and like putting it into the perspective of life is short. We're all going to die. So like, what do you want to do with your life? Like, do you want to be clinging on to threads with someone that it might not work out with for years and like waste all your energy just focused on the wrong things? Or do you want to create an impact? Do you want to, I don't know. I just see people, especially like all my grandparents have passed. And I saw my grandma who passed recently last December. I was super close with her. And
condolences, by the way.
Thank you. But I was like, she was like my best friend and she would always give me advice and always listen to me. And I could tell she didn't do a lot of things. Like she never got to do a lot of things in her life. She kind of just got married, then she got remarried, and she never really did much. Like she just sat in her apartment and went on TikTok, which is so funny. She loved it. She loved TikTok. She would like always go on my TikTok and like comment on videos. She was hilarious. But I could tell she wanted to do more and she was afraid. Mm-hmm. And I think that was like it was a little bit of like a push for me to just like even go deeper into like focusing on what I want to accomplish, because I'm like, okay, like I saw her at the end of her life, maybe not doing everything she had ever wanted to do. And it happens to a lot of old people. I don't know if you've seen those interviews where older people that are about to pass, they always say like they regret stressing about so many things that were not that important in the big scheme of things. And they regret not taking more chances and risks. And they regret not focusing on their goals versus like, just waiting for some guy to text them back or whatever, call them, whatever. And I think about those things a lot, and that's what helps me. Because I'm like, in 5-10 years from now, is this really going to matter? Like, or what's going to matter is the impact that I leave on a more global scale, where like for me, I've put all my energy now, my passion into my work and like making a difference and helping other people. And I think that's what I focus on versus like, I don't know, like ask like
shit that don't matter.
Yeah, like asking, like, you know, getting caught up in a situationship or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's helped me. Yeah, I guess it's helped me navigate being alone a little more because I'm just doing me, you know?
And it's fun doing you, man.
Yeah.
People, I mean, well, you make it look fun. You make it look fun. I don't know if I make it look fun because when I'm home doing me, my doing me is like different. Like I really just love, I guess, kind of relating to your grandma. Like not necessarily TikTok, but YouTube.
I mean, it's what makes you happy. Like she was happy, but I think the point like wasn't to say that's a bad thing. There's nights where I do nothing and I scroll and I don't do anything and I'm not productive or whatever, but it's what makes you happy and what makes you feel good and what makes you feel like you're living. Like that could be different for everyone. You know,
you just answered my next question because I was going to say, does, you know, technology help with solitary experiences or does it distract you from it or does it enhance it? So I guess that kind of answers the question because it is what you feel like doing. So I guess
there's no judgment.
There's no judgment at all.
I don't. I never want to come off like, oh, like you have to do this to live your life to the fullest. Like, no, it's a person by person thing. For me, my life to the fullest is going to look way different than someone else's, and just everyone's version of what makes them feel good is so different.
Yeah. Have you read the 4 Agreements?
Yes.
Yes, and the 4th agreement is always do your best, and he described your best, or you know, what he wrote was, you know, your best changes based on what mood you're in, how you're feeling, or you know, person to person. So I think to your point, like our best just aren't the same. Like we are all not. Like your 100% looks nothing like my 100%, but we're still going 100%. That doesn't change anything. So that's the biggest problem I think people fuck up a lot on because they think, oh, this person is going 100%. I got to match their 100%. And you end up draining yourself because that's not your 100%. Yeah. You're just going overboard trying to please match that person, but you don't know what that person is going through or how they're trained to handle certain things. So to your point, yes, I think we all need to be able to like do us to what is best for us and not worry about what the fuck everybody else is doing. But I want to pivot real quick because I want to go back. When we were off camera, you were telling me about your journeys, your trips, and you mentioned something that stood out to me. You said, you know, when you take these trips, you have fun dating on these different ventures because you don't like dating in New York. Yeah. Explain more into that.
I think it's just fun to experience different cultures and different types of dating in different places. I think everyone is different in different countries. And I find it so fun just to put myself out of my comfort zone and meet new people. So I've done it in London a few times. Just like I'll just go on dates and see what happens. Sometimes it's been horrible. Sometimes it's been amazing. I did it when I was in Sydney. I met a few people that, you know, I clicked with in the beginning. It didn't work out. And Bali, I went on a couple dates as well. I just think it's important for me, like to get to know people from different backgrounds. Like I just feel like everyone's version of how they date and show up on dates is different. And it's just genuinely fascinating to me. And I treat it almost as like a research project. Yeah. 'Cause, like if I meet someone and we have a connection, great. And like if we fall in love, great. And that would be amazing. But I also go into it with no expectations. And I'm like, okay, this is just, you know, supposed to be light and fun, and if something happens, it happens. But I genuinely am just fascinated by the way men date in different countries. And there are differences for sure.
Let's stop here for a second. I like what Lyss is talking about here. See, dating in different countries can be liberating and educationally because it allows you to learn about different cultures firsthand. Each relationship can offer a unique opportunity to learn new customs, new traditions, and new perspectives. This can open your mind, challenge your assumptions, and help you grow as a person. It's liberating because it frees you from your usual environment and lets you explore the world in a more personal and meaningful way. Through these experiences, you gain a deeper understanding and appreciation of cultural diversity, making your dating life richer and more fulfilling. All right, let's get back to the show.
I've been meaning to ask if the line has blurred between intentionally dating someone and dating to create stories from the experiences. Yeah. Has that blurred for you?
No, I don't think I ever have fully dated for the content.
Okay.
Because, like, I'm open-minded to meeting someone. Mm-hmm. Not like, oh, let me just do this for views. That's so cringy. I don't think that's, like, my personality. I don't think it's authentic, too, because people know when you're forcing content.
Yeah.
Like, it's so obvious. If you're going on a date just for views, people will know eventually that you're faking shit. Mm-hmm. So I look at it as like, yeah, if I'm using a dating app or whatever, like I'm going to match with someone if I find them attractive. I'm going to match with someone if I feel a connection. I'm not going to meet up with some random person just because. I date intentionally, for sure. And I don't go on a lot of dates. It looks like I might just based off of my content and like talking about my experiences, but they're far and few between. I'm very picky.
Yeah.
I'm really picky. Like, if I feel even a little bit off before a date, I'll just cancel it. I'm like, no, I know that I'm not going to get along with them, or I'll make sure they voice note me so I could hear their voice before. And if I don't like their voice, I'm like, no.
So you rejected
no.
You rejected them based off the voice?
Yes.
So I guess you are picky then. They got to sound a certain way.
Well, because I'm big on energy.
Okay.
Like, I'm big on feeling out someone's vibe, and someone's voice can say a lot about their vibe. I'm just very tapped in, like not psychic, but very intuitive. So if I hear someone's voice and I just feel like, if they sound a little creepy, why would I go? Yeah. It's not like, oh, their voice is too deep or their voice is too high. It's not like that. It's like more of an energy thing. So I'll give you an example. When I was in Bali, there was a guy that was, it actually wasn't I voice noted him because I wanted to see if he would voice note me back, because I was like, that's a sign that he's comfortable, cool. And then if I hear his voice, maybe whatever, I'll feel the vibe. And then I voice noted him and he was like, oh, you're one of those. And I was like,
what do you mean by you're one of those?
A person that speaks, like a person that talks. Cool. So he was like judging me right off the bat. And that was like, it wasn't an intentional test, but the fact that he said that was like, he's not my person. Like, he's judging me because I sent him a voice note. And then I was like, what? And he ended up calling me, and he was so weird. Like, the voice, I don't know, something was really sketchy about him. I didn't like his energy. And I was like,
called you on the dating app, or he had your number?
No, we went off the dating app to WhatsApp. And then he was like, I don't know. He was just, the vibe was just so awkward, because after I sent that voice note, he was like, oh, you're one of those people. And I was like, that's like kind of weird. That makes me feel like I did something weird. Like, I don't like that. Because usually if someone's really cool and I send a voice note, they usually send one back. And most guys do. Or they'll be like, hold on, like I'm working or something. I'll send one later, and they'll send one later. But never have I had someone be like, oh, like, that's weird that you did that. So,
now, do you send a voice note asking for them to send a voice note? Or you just...
I'll just send it.
Okay.
I'll send it to test the waters to see if they're comfortable enough to send one back. And usually if they do, I'm like, that's a green flag. Like, they can have a conversation. Mm-hmm. If you can't send me a voice note now, then how are we going to date?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is a preference thing, but I think it shows a lot about if someone's like chill.
No, I get what you're saying. I know a girl who, one of my homies, she won't go out with you depending on how you write her during the exchange, like just the initial via whatever app you're using, whatever dating app, just how you're writing to her. If you're like short sentences, she's like, yeah, I already know you can't hold a conversation. I'm not even going to entertain you. But if the conversations are very thoughtful, she'll engage in going on a date with you because she's like, okay, we can go out and have a conversation. So I kind of get what you're saying. It is very preference, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a preference thing. Some people are fine with. This is why I also do it, because in the past, on dating apps in particular, which I hate, I don't like using them because it's like you really don't know someone until you meet them in person. And then if you got ready, you got dressed, you went out, like, and you're sitting across from someone you don't want to spend 3 hours with. You're like, fuck, like, why did I do this? So now I'm just really strict with it, where I'm like, I need to hear your voice. I need to feel your vibe. I need to know at least a little bit to assess if I want to actually meet up with you, because I'm not going to spend the next hour getting ready, getting dressed up and going somewhere and then sitting with you if I don't want to sit with you.
Yeah.
So that's why I do that. It's because it's happened to me before where I'm like, I didn't assess it and I ended up going and it was like, oh, fuck, I'm stuck on a date with someone that I'm not going to have a good conversation with. my energy is going to be drained by the end of this. And
are you the type of person to walk away? If you're on the date and their energy is off, are you the type to get up and just walk away, or do you stick it through?
I'm really fucking nice. Like I like to the point where I'll at least have one drink. I wouldn't just get up and leave unless it was like a situation where I felt really uncomfortable, which is maybe happened to me one time where we didn't get a drink. I just said like, I'm really tired and I have to go to sleep. And I just like ended it quickly. It was like maybe 20 minutes. There was a guy that he just wasn't the person in his pictures. It was like it was just really weird. So I was like,
catfish?
It was pretty much a catfish. He just had definitely deceived me. Yeah. So I was like, this isn't going to work. Other than that, even if I don't feel like it's going to work, I'll stay for one drink and be polite. Mm-hmm. But that's what I mean. Like even that has been a little bit annoying. So what I do now is like, I really highly vet people. I've asked people to FaceTime. Like, can you FaceTime me before we meet up? Because I need to see if I like you.
Yeah.
Like it's really not that big of a deal. It's actually, I think it's really efficient. You know, you're both not wasting each other's time. Yeah. Why would you, if you're a guy and you want to take me out and spend money on dinner, drinks, whatever, why would you want to spend money on me if I don't even like you and I bounce? So I'm helping you too, right? So I'm like, we're helping each other. Like we're seeing, I don't know, we're just assessing it. And that's, I make a rule for myself to FaceTime usually now or
No, you got to assess. I'm not mad at that at all. So real quick, when you started doing this dating to experience different culture, do you feel like not dating in New York is due to the fact that there's this stigma on the dating scene in New York? Like, or have you experienced just that bad karma of dating in New York? And is it true? Because people say like it's a disaster in the dating pool in New York City. Is it true? What's your assessment on that? I've
met all my boyfriends here. Like I think it's all perspective.
Damn, it's that bad, huh?
No, it's all perspective. It's all perspective. I think it's like you have to, it's what you make of it and how you perceive it. Like for me, I think in every city I've been, the girls have told me like dating here is terrible. Like when I went to Sydney, oh my God, dating's horrible. And I was like meeting really cool guys. I'm like, is it really bad? Like, I don't think it's just, you know, the way your brain is wired to believe a certain place is bad. You're going to see more bad. I think it's like what you choose to focus on. I think in New York, I've had good dates. I've also had shit dates, but you could apply that to anywhere. Like you could say, oh, dating in Miami is terrible. I hear that all the time. Dating in LA is horrible. Dating in Sydney is horrible. Like everywhere you go, people who live in that city are saying the dating is horrible. So I don't think it's the city. I think it's just the perspective and also the amount of experiences people have had that have been bad, and it's just like a collective energy where people are just like,
it sucks.
Fed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's such a, I don't want to say fair. Like, I'm not the type to just go based off what other people are saying. So I could care less. I could care less about what, people are spreading online. But I feel like a lot of people buy into that. Like, a lot of people who don't live in New York or are just reading or planning on moving to New York. I see a lot of those posts on Reddit or like these social platforms where people are like, I'm moving to New York. I've heard some things about the dating scene. Like, is it as bad as people are saying, or what is the dating scene like? And the comments are just like, don't like, I think I read something where this guy said his friend that lived in New York, a woman, she moved outside of New York. She said she was struggling finding a romantic partner in New York. And when she moved outside of New York, she got married right away. I'm like, that's fucking coincidence. And like we can't put that on just New York. Like, so I don't really like that people are putting this on New York. I'm not from New York, so I don't want to act like, I don't want to defend New York. Seem like the type of person that's defending New York. But I just think that the dating pool is, I think it's actually fresh in New York. Like, it's because you have a range. If anything, I think the opportunity is just too much. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say that's good or bad. I just think that with the access that you have, the unlimited access that you have, you can do a lot to that. And I think if you're very intentional, to use your word, about what you're doing, I think you'll find what you want.
Yeah, for sure.
And so do you feel like right now, the space that you're in, are you currently dating with intent, or are you just casually dating right now?
I think the goal is to meet my person. But at the same time, I don't really know, because I love, at this point in my life, like, having options. Like, I've never really been that way.
What do you mean by having an option? Like, you want to date multiple people?
Like, not like...
Or you want to be in a relationship with multiple people?
Oh, no. Not relationship. No. I don't know how I would have time for that. No, like, I think I'm just experiencing life right now. I'm in an era of my life where I'm like having fun, and I'm just meeting people and kind of like surfing through the dating scene. And if I meet my person and they stand out to me and I have a better connection with someone, I'll pursue it. But right now I'm in a phase where I'm like, I'm going to just talk to people and see what happens. I think it's also healthy, because it's like you're not having these crazy heavy expectations. And I think when you have heavy expectations, you're not going to meet someone because you're just like, oh, like I need to find my person. So for me, I'm like, right now, I'm just kind of, I guess you could say it's casually dating, but I'm intentional with the people that I'm casually dating. Okay. Yeah, like, I'm not like just talking to anyone. I'm talking to people that are cool, that are, making me laugh. I think that's a huge thing for me. Like, I need people in my life right now that make me feel good and happy to be around, and like have good energy, and we just vibe. And anyone that's in my life in a romantic sense has to just like add some sort of happiness in some way.
I mean, otherwise, why would you want them in your space?
Yeah.
And I think to the conversation we were having seconds ago, like, people do that though. Like, they are allowing people into the space just for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
But you got to be intentional with who you allow in your space. But this leads me to something though, because I think this generation, my generation, I'll say, we've rebrand the casual dating phrase into whole phase. Like, and I feel like that's the new thing now. Like, I think, and we're embracing it. Have you noticed that? Or am I making this up? I'm not making this up. We've rebranded casually dating into the whole phase. and it's, popularized. People are embracing it. It's not something that's like a stigma or taboo anymore. Like people are embracing going through the whole face, aka casually dating. Do you think it's similar, or do you think there's a difference? I think it's the same thing.
I mean, it depends on what your perception of. I don't know, like, because everyone's perception is different. Like for me, I'm not sleeping with 100 people and going off the rails, like just being irresponsible with myself. Like it's not being irresponsible. I want to rephrase that. I just feel like that wouldn't be something for me. That's not the lifestyle that I ever have lived before. I like monogamy. Like I like having one person. I like that. So I'm very picky with, like, I don't consider it a hoe phase, because hoe is a weird word. Like hoe is like, it's kind of degrading, right? I mean, it's your perception of that word, but I feel like when people use the word hoe, that's like a very degrading word. So I don't know when we started making it into a good thing. I don't know. Yeah, like I mean, yeah, maybe it's a maybe you could look at it as a positive, but I think it's a preference thing. It's like what you.
Do you think that journey is necessary though? Like,
yeah, I do.
To be able to go through that, so you can be able to, I guess, like they like to say, is get it out of your system. I don't even think that that's a thing. Like,
yeah.
But do you think that is a thing?
I do. If you're a curious person.
Okay.
But it's a person-to-person thing. Like some people I know have been with one person their whole life and they're fine.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is my person. This is who I was supposed to be with. And I'm like, that's rare. Like that's pretty crazy. But like there have been, I don't know. For me, I'm like very curious. I love getting to know different types of people. And I think I was in an 8-year relationship. The first relationship I was ever in was 8 years long. So that was my only person. That was the only person I knew. I didn't know anything outside of that. So when I got out of that relationship, I was like, I need to like experience what I actually want. Because if you're limiting yourself to one viewpoint with one person, you're like, this is my one and only, and it's really not your one and only, because that relationship didn't work for good reasons. Like, I don't think it's healthy. Right? I mean, I don't know. This is also very opinionated because everyone, as I said, has a different perspective. Everyone has a different viewpoint on relationships. But for me, I think I needed, not anymore, I've dated enough, but I've needed to date other people and expand my horizons with dating in order to know what I really liked and didn't like.
I mean, back to
and also to know what else is out there, because sometimes if you're only with one person, you think you have something really good, and then like you realize that you were just blinded, and there's actually people out there that could treat you way better than what you have, and you're settling. So I realized that even through my last few experiences with dating, I was settling so much, because then I would meet someone else that treated me way better, and I'm like, what was I doing? You know? So
yeah, but I think that's what being in love is. I think. I mean, I wouldn't say I've been in love yet, and I'm 25, so I can't really speak too much into it.
You're only 25?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know, right? It's weird. But I think that's what being in love is. I think being in love is being able to, exactly what you just said, accept that this person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, it's going to sound bad, but doesn't fully bring everything that you need in this world to the table, but you're okay with that. Because there's just one thing that they fulfill for you, and you're okay with just that. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be okay with that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But to your point, when you see other things out there, you will get curious, but I think that's where the love comes in, right? You really got to strongly care and love and have love for that person to ignore all the other BS or bullshit that might come your way. That's what I think being in love with. So I think it's doable. I think it's possible to be with one person and tolerate. I know tolerate is a bad word, but and love that person. You know, I mean, yes, you will. It is person to person based.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is person to person based. But I do think it's possible to be with one person. I have a lot of friends that have been together since middle school and they're still together. I do think about that sometimes though. I'm like, what could you possibly still like about each other for this long? But I guess you really maybe fuck it. Let me play white devil advocate. Maybe you really just gotta like blind yourself to everything else. Like intentionally blind yourself to everything else. Because
it's hard to say because it's like, yeah, there's so many options now. I was just talking about this with someone that I work out with, and I was like, he was like, you know, there's so many options. Do you find it hard to go with one person because there's just like so many choices nowadays versus like back in the day it was like you found your person, that was it, you didn't really know anything else? And I was like, yeah, for sure. I think because your brain is like so just stimulated by so many different
I think technology,
like if there was no Instagram, sorry if there's no Instagram, you wouldn't have access to be stalking someone all day. Like there's been people where I've seen, like, I know the relationship or connection probably would have lasted way longer if there was no Instagram. But because they had like 30 girls blowing up their DMs, they just were like, she's just another girl. Like to me, like, she's just another influencer or whatever. And I'm like, we do have a good connection, but you're just so distracted that you're not going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like it's, yeah.
Have you ever heard the quote, you're only as strong as your options? No. I think that's true. That quote is so, I remember being in
Can you explain that to me? Like, what do you mean?
So I'm going to explain it. So the quote basically means, you're only, let me rephrase it. Let me say it one more time. You're only as strong as your option. Basically, is you're strong in the relationship because you don't have the option, the opportunity, people throwing themselves at you yet. But once that is happening, like say a person becomes Lyss overnight, right? And you have millions of followers, you have options. Are you as strong as you say you were when everybody all of a sudden wants you, and now the option is wide instead of before when it was very small? And I the reason why I brought that quote up is because I remember being in high school and I was in a long-term relationship with this girl, and I don't think I cheated, but I'm gonna just use the story. But and when I got to college, it's a different plane. It's a different ball game. There's women everywhere. And so high school is like, I'm only limited to a certain amount of women, and I see you every day, and you know, we're all in the same town. So it's like, I can be faithful. And then you go to college and you see all these different, like you said, it's like traveling around. I look at college as what you consider traveling. And you see all these culture, all these women from different backgrounds. Now you're like, your option is wide versus when it was limited. So I think to go back to that quote, you're only as strong as your options. I believe in that quote for a lot of men out there. Not saying that a lot of men can't be faithful. I don't want to put that out there. But I think, you know, you're as faithful as the options that you got. You know?
I think if you are looking at other people and like you want to cheat, then you're probably just not in the right relationship.
Yeah, that too. But no, I'm not gonna say it. It's too soon for that. But yeah, I agree with you. Okay, let me ask you a couple more questions so I can get you out of here. I just want to know, when we talked about, well, before I was telling you that, I went through the rabbit hole of Reddit. And Reddit seemed to have a lot of conspiracy theories about you.
Oh, yeah. There's so many conspiracy theories about me. I don't know why, but you could ask me anything. It's totally fine.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
I've read it, no pun intended. I've read it all. So
you've read it.
Yeah.
So one of the theory that Reddit have is that, is that you're trying to profit of people's self-worth and self-love.
Yeah.
What do you think when you even hear stuff like that?
Okay, so eliminate every book from the earth. Eliminate anything. Anything is here to make a profit of some sort that you're engaging in or purchased, or movies, song, music, TV, self-help books, especially. Like, everything is here technically because people need to survive in a physical world. You need to make money somehow. So I'm like, okay.
Like,
so just eliminate everything and everyone will just live on the streets because yes, of course I'm making money, but I'm doing it in an authentic way that I know I'm helping people and I know that I'm actually doing it out of the goodness of my heart. So the Reddit things are just like so funny to me. I'm like, so what are you doing?
Yeah, I get what you're saying because I feel the same way about, I'm not religious, but I do listen to certain pastors and I love the way they preach. And I feel the same way about pastors. Like, people see pastors and they have a lot of money. They're getting a lot of coverage but I personally feel like if you're good at what you do, why shouldn't you be rewarded for it?
Yeah.
I never understood that mindset. Like, people, it's only certain fields and career choices that people feel like those individuals shouldn't be rewarded for being good at what they do. Yeah. It's like, you don't say that athletes or whatever career choice shouldn't get paid for what they do. But it's like, all of a sudden you see a motivational speaker or you see a pastor and now it's, why should he be getting paid for helping people? What?
It's also the most it's usually people in this space that are like trying to genuinely help other people where I see they're getting the most backlash because people think if you are making money, you're not spiritual.
Yeah.
They associate like materialism. Oh, if if you're profiting off of people, you're not really spiritual. And I'm like, actually, money can be very spiritual. Like, if you know that it's coming from a good place and if you have a good, healthy relationship with money, you'll realize that like, it's actually a really, like, if you have an abundant mindset, it's actually really can be a spiritual thing. It's not, I think money is also associated with greed and like
100%.
A lot of dark energy. But if you're spiritual, you'll realize that money flows and comes in and out. And I just have a very healthy relationship with money now. Whereas like, if you're in a bad mindset with money, you're going to see it in a dark way.
Yeah, people always have this like biblical idea with money because they feel like, when the Bible talks about, if you love money, you're this and that. But I think, from my memory is like, I think the Bible said for the love of money was let me not quote the Bible. I don't want to mess it up. But I think the idea is, I don't want to fuck it up. I think the idea is people who love money and would do anything, compromise anything for that. I think that's the idea. But it's people that are very, very intentional with the content that they do and that get crucified for it because they're earning money and they're good at it. And to my original point, like, I'm never mad at somebody earning money for being good at what they do.
I think all the people that have saved my life have charged me thousands of dollars. My therapist, my personal trainer, that helped me get through my breakup, that cost me thousands of dollars in training, thousands of dollars in therapy. Why shouldn't they get paid, like, for helping people and making a difference, right? If you're giving your energy and time to helping people, making a difference, it should be valued. And I would pay thousands if I knew someone was, created a course or created something to change someone's life and like actually created it with good intention. You could tell if someone has good intention behind what they're doing, and I'm happy to pay for it, because if it's going to also help me, like there was one girl that I really admired, I looked up to, and I was going through a hard time. I bought her masterclass on manifestation, and it literally got me out of my depression, and it inspired me to create my own, because I was like, this actually changed my life, and it was expensive, but it was worth every dollar because it really did help me get out of a depression. And then I'm sure she's gotten messages like, why is it so expensive? Like, why are you charging people for to get out of a funk or whatever it is? Like, we're already broke. We're already this, we're already that. But like, everything has to have some sort of value on it and price, because we live in a physical world. At the end of the day, we need to survive. Like, you can't survive without money, unfortunately. Like, that's how it is. So
I wonder why people do that though. Why do people question people like yourself when it comes to, how you're pricing certain things or how you're getting paid? And then you look at your life and see what you're spending money on, and you realize that sometimes you're spending money on nothing at all. But when it comes to something that could be valuable, you question why this person wants me to pay for this. Why can't you just give it to me free so I can help me? But you'll spend $50 a month on a Tinder app, or
for sure. Yeah. It's crazy, because when you look at it from that angle, even, I had this, it was like this workshop for like $11, and people were getting bitter about it, saying it should be free to me. And I'm like, you will spend $11 on a coffee every single day for a year straight. But this is a one-time payment for something that I worked really hard on, right? And like, everyone will have something to say. And that's the thing, like, you can't make everyone happy. But if you are coming from a place of good intention, the only thing you could do is just focus on that and say, you know what, the right people that trust me, that value the product, that trust what I have to say, are going to purchase it. And you can't make everyone happy. Like, it's just the world of business. I feel like everyone's going to shit on you to an extent like that, I don't know. You could always find people that are going to be unhappy with something that you're doing. So I try to focus on all the people that appreciate it. There's so many people that appreciate the work that I put out too. But the Reddit threads are so toxic. They're so toxic. I don't even read them, but people have sent them to me and like, oh, like, she's a cult leader.
Yeah, I saw that one. And they say
she's a cult leader. I was like, right. As I'm sitting in my bed, like, like with my like sushi and my like Netflix, I'm like sitting there and I'm like, yep, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm like forming a cult.
Yeah. Y'all seen someone said their girlfriend took your course
and broke up with him. I know. I read that. They're like, oh, Lyss is the reason my girlfriend broke up with me. And I was like, well, there had to be a good reason. If she listened to me, like, you must have been doing something wrong, because I talk about standing up for yourself and knowing your worth. So
I was like, what are you doing? People just want people to blame. That's all. Yeah, they just want people to blame. Lyss, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna get you out of here. I do have one last question though. It's something that I just now thought about. I wanted to ask you early on during the conversation when we were talking about the casual dating thing, and then we brought up the whole phase. Like, is there an exit strategy for the whole phase, or should there be an exit strategy for a whole phase? Because I think people go in it, and I don't think it ever ends for them. But I think the goal is for it to end, right? If I'm mistaken.
You're saying like just casual dating, like, or
casual?
You're saying...
we rebranded it, Lyss. It's no longer casual dating no more. I think when I say whole phase, I think you mean like just sleeping around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's rebrand now.
Okay, it's rebranded. I didn't know that.
My generation rebranded it. It's no longer casual dating. It's the whole phase, but without the sleeping and just fucking around. No, it's actually just dating.
Okay,
but we call it the whole phase.
So what was the question?
Should there be an exit strategy for that?
No, I think everything just happens in divine timing. Like if you meet someone, you'll exit out. Or like if if something happens in your life, you're like, you know what, I need to take a break. You'll take a break.
So it's not something you should plan. You should just kind of.
No, I go with the flow.
Yeah.
That's my strategy. Going with the flow of life, seeing where life takes me. Life is cool if you just go in that flow state where I don't really need to plan everything out, and just trusting what's meant to be will happen. So
I like that. That actually was a great way to end the podcast. Liz, thank you so much. I appreciate your energy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate that because I know you be traveling a lot, getting your rounds in. But yeah, thank you again. If you want to kind of just share where, I know the podcast Date Yourself Instead is out on streaming services.
Yes.
Not more on YouTube.
Date Yourself Instead. It's not really on YouTube. I'm starting to upload more videos, but it's on Spotify. Big on Spotify, big on Apple Podcasts. It's also on other streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And also my Instagram is @Lyss, LYSS. My podcast account @Date Yourself Instead. That's where you could find me.
All right, so go out there and be a hoe like Lyss. That's the moral of the story. No, I'm just playing. Thank you again for joining me. Everybody else, hit that like, comment, subscribe button, and tune in for next week. All right, peace.